How do you sort out the so-called jargon from real-world practices that work? Do the members of your organization find some business or technology advice utterly confusing? Welcome to Real Talk with Sam Holcman. In this program, we set the record straight, and in terms that business people and technology people can understand. Now, here is your host, Sam Holcman.
Welcome to this edition of Real Talk. I'm Sam Holcman, and the topic today is a major revelation that actually came from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, talking about, believe it or not, the cost of compute power, basically in-house versus cloud computing. And this has also been covered in InfoWorld in a June 2023 article. And fundamentally, the easiest way to put it is, the pendulum seems to have swung back to on-premise for some things. So the concept of basically thinking before going to what some people are calling a cloud-first strategy. In summary, that particular strategy has been shown to no longer be the most optimal. I didn't say the most economical. By the way, it isn't, but optimal. Now we're talking about optimal. We're talking about a balance between volatility, storage capacity, and processing power. And what's been happening is there has been a very, very significant drop month to month in the cost of hardware and software that you can acquire or lease and run in-house, including the costs of running these things, in relation to cloud services, which are seeing a continuing increase in cost. When you think about it, people say, well, there's more and more of this used. There should be an understanding, or a belief at least, that the prices should be going down, but it's going in the opposite direction. And for those of you that have been tuning into my broadcast for some time, you know I have done a number of full webinars, 1 hour and more, about the concept of what we call the repatriation movement, kind of a hard word for me to say. In other words, moving stuff back from the cloud back internally. And that is happening quite frequently. And summary at this point is the business case is much more complex now that the business people and the technology people should think about before figuring out where a specific application, service, or requirement is. Got to think about objectives. Back in a moment.
Every day in business, we hear jargon, see writings from so-called experts, and don't know what we should follow and what we should avoid. Now there's a daily 5-minute brief to sort everything out. Real Talk with Sam Holcman is the program that provides actual field-enabled best practices, insights, and real-world experiences that help business executives, technology executives, managers, and staff using straightforward talk. Get your daily dose of Real Talk.
Welcome back. And what we're talking about today is really what I'm calling a balance between in-house and cloud capabilities. There's no one or the other. And what we're looking at now is what should this balance be? And the lesson that we're learning is cloud computing is no longer just a default solution, and probably shouldn't have been. What we're looking for is the volatility of what is being computerized and, of course, the components that are there. Please remember, component number one, this is not an order of priority, but the things that you need to think about is the processing. In other words, how much processing power do you need? The second, of course, is the data. Is it relatively, in quotes, static data? And of course, what is the volume? If it's static, it's very expensive to keep that stuff spinning in the cloud on some service provider, as we can possibly imagine. I think you know that if you're doing a little bit of analysis. And of course, the third that we shouldn't forget about is the networking. In other words, the transfer costs of moving data and process from a host cloud to your applications or to your stakeholders and things like that. And what we need to look at is all those factors to determine what is the best approach. And, at EECOE, we've been doing this with our clients for some time. It is not complicated. It is a step in the optimization of in-house versus external compute power. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay well, stay healthy, and do a little bit of analysis before you write that check when it comes to cloud computing.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Talk. Be sure to join your host, Sam Holcman, again for another edition of our program. We'll have more real topics of discussion then.